Assessment serves as an opportunity for classroom teachers and reading specialists to evaluate student performance and determine appropriate tools for individual students. The purpose of this training is to define assessment terms, provide examples on how these terms support learning in the classroom, how that applies to you as a classroom teacher, my role as a reading specialist in helping you with these assessments, as well as the impact on student learning. A reading or literacy assessment is used to collect information which provides insights on what students are learning and to inform instruction. You may see informal or formal assessments. An example of an informal assessment is an anecdotal note, in which teachers jot down quick notes of students' learning throughout a lesson. An example of a formal assessment is a standardized test. Informal assessments can be used by teachers to guide them on instruction in small groups, whole group learning, differentiating, as well as one-on-one interactions. As a reading specialist, my job would be to interpret the results of a literacy assessment and to help fill in the gaps that a student may have. Standardized testing can help determine whether a student will need additional screening because it is a valid and reliable test that determines a student's benchmark. Students can benefit from literacy assessments because it helps show them their progress throughout the school year, and it can also help them identify and set goals for themselves throughout the school year. Language can be expressed through speaking, listening, writing, and reading. A language assessment measures how a student understands and uses the English language. An example of a language assessment is the test of English language learning, which is targeted to English language learners. This assessment measures their interaction with reading the English language in its spoken and written form. Language assessments are very helpful in intervention because they determine how much intervention is required, as well as additional specialists that may be needed in the classroom. As a reading specialist, my job would be to analyze a language assessment to determine whether students are performing at or below what is expected for their grade level or their age. Classroom teachers can also use language assessments to help them determine if additional support is needed, whether there is an auditory issue that needs to be addressed. A language assessment is beneficial to students because it allows them to become more fluent and accurate speakers, readers, and writers of the English language. A diagnostic test is a standardized assessment that measures students' strengths and areas of growth by covering a wide range of skills. An example of this is the M-Class Amplify assessment, in which students are assessed based on their phonemic awareness, nonsense word recognition, and many more other literacy components. Reading specialists can use diagnostic tests to identify reading levels as well as areas that students struggle with and work on targeted instruction for these students. Teachers can also use this to inform their guided reading groups to help them differentiate learning, as well as provide students with specific objectives that they need to meet. Students benefit from a diagnostic test because results are individual and they help students identify specific areas that they need to work on. This allows teachers and reading specialists to create a comprehensive plan to fill in any literacy gaps that the student may have. Remediation refers to reteaching a lesson or concepts to the whole class when most or all have failed to meet the objectives for the day. Exit tickets are great examples or ways in which to quickly assess the percentage of students who grasp the objectives, as well as to determine whether a remediation needs to occur. An educator can gather insight on what students are thinking or experiencing during a lesson. Reading specialists can provide guidance on tools that can support remediation skills in the classroom. Students benefit from remediation because it gives them another opportunity to master a concept, and often this reteaching is presented in a new way that clicks for most students, that may help them get a better understanding of the concepts. Intervention refers to the formal process geared towards the specific skill deficits of students who are struggling. Interventions and progress tend to be regularly tracked. An example of an intervention is RTI, which serves as a multi-tiered approach in the early identification of students who may need learning or behavioral supports. Teachers may use this information to refer students for special education services, and reading specialists can support by pulling out or pushing in to provide intervention to a small group of students. Students benefit from intervention because they are receiving specific targeted instruction based on research-based practices. Progress Monitor is a tool that tracks students' learning, mastery of skills, and academic achievements. Progress Monitor can help teachers inform their guided reading, whole group lessons, small group, as well as different instructions that they bring to the classroom. An example of progress monitoring is the Dibbles progress monitoring system. In our district, students who are performing well below grade level are usually progressed every 2 weeks. Students that are performing below grade level are usually progressed monitored once a month. Progress monitoring can also help a teacher and a reading specialist to gauge whether the supports that were in place should be carried forward or should be changed up. Students benefit from progress monitoring by having targeted instruction, which prevents gaps in learning, as well as a continuous system that monitors their amount of learning.